While most Americans were busy arguing about gas prices and range anxiety, a quiet revolution was taking place 8,000 miles away. In March 2025, China's BYD unveiled something that sounds like science fiction, a battery system that can charge an electric vehicle to 400 kilometers of range in just 5 minutes. Not 15 minutes, not 10 minutes, 5 minutes. That's barely enough time to grab a coffee, and it represents a technological leap that could fundamentally reshape who controls the future of transportation, energy independence, and ultimately, American economic security. To put this in perspective, Tesla's most advanced superchargers, the gold standard in the Western world, take about 15 minutes to deliver similar range. BYD just cut that time by 2/3 while delivering twice the charging power. We're talking about a 1 megawatt charging system, which is roughly equivalent to the power consumption of 300 American homes running simultaneously. This isn't just an incremental improvement, it's the kind of breakthrough that changes everything. But here's where the story gets more concerning for American interests. This isn't happening in a vacuum. BYD's breakthrough is part of a comprehensive Chinese strategy that has been decades in the making. And the data shows that the United States is falling further behind with each passing month. China now controls more than 80% of the global battery supply chain, from mining the raw materials to manufacturing the finished cells. American batteries cost at least 20% more to produce than Chinese batteries. Not because American workers are less skilled, but because China has achieved economies of scale that seem almost impossible to match. The numbers tell a stark story. China's battery manufacturing capacity is projected to reach 4,800 gigawatt-hours by 2025. That's 4 times the actual global demand. Meanwhile, even if every announced North American battery project materializes perfectly on schedule, the United States won't capture more than 15% of the lithium-ion market by 2030. We're not just behind, we're operating in a completely different league. So how did we get here? The answer requires understanding a strategic vision that began more than 2 decades ago. In 2001, China's 5-year plan designated batteries and electric vehicles as strategic economic priorities. Since 2009, Beijing has provided $230 billion in government support to domestic manufacturers like BYD and CATL.
That's not venture capital or private investment. That's direct government backing designed to create global champions in critical technologies. For the United States, this means we're now facing what industry experts describe as an existential threat to our automotive sector. Ford CEO Jim Farley has used exactly those words, while Elon Musk has warned that Chinese EVs will demolish competitors without protective barriers. These aren't casual observations from executives trying to generate headlines. These are strategic assessments from leaders who understand the mathematics of technological competition. The American response has been, frankly, inadequate to the scale of the challenge. The Department of Energy recently announced $3 billion in grants for battery materials projects. That sounds like a lot of money until you realize it's roughly 1.3% of what China has invested over the past 15 years. Richard Wang, founder of battery research firm Crevasse Consulting, put it bluntly, "For something like this, $3 billion doesn't get you in the game. We've fallen behind, and catching up is way more expensive than leading." The impact is already visible in how American automakers are adapting to reality. General Motors, after previously criticizing Ford's partnership with Chinese battery giant CATL, is now negotiating its own battery supply deal with the same Chinese company. Ford's Michigan facility will manufacture lithium iron phosphate cells under license from CATL, with production expected to commence in 2026. These aren't isolated cases of corporate opportunism. They're strategic surrenders to technological superiority. But BYD's current breakthrough with megawatt charging is just the opening act. The company is simultaneously developing solid-state battery technology, with road trials already underway using BYD Seal electric sedans as test beds. These solid-state batteries reportedly achieve an energy density of 400 watt-hours per kilogram, more than double the density of current batteries, and could provide ranges of up to 1,500 kilometers on a single charge. That's roughly 930 miles, which would eliminate range anxiety entirely and make electric vehicles superior to gasoline cars in every measurable way. Chinese companies now file over 7,600 solid-state battery patents annually, accounting for nearly 37% of global patent activity in this field. Meanwhile, America's primary hope lies in companies like QuantumScape, which has developed promising technology in partnership with Volkswagen.
Their production target is 80 gigawatt-hours annually, enough for approximately 1 million vehicles per year. While promising, this scale represents a fraction of China's integrated approach in manufacturing capabilities. The infrastructure implications are equally sobering. BYD has committed to installing more than 4,000 megawatt charging stations across China, with the first batch scheduled for deployment this year. Each station requires power equivalent to supplying more than 300 houses, but BYD's solution involves deploying stationary energy storage systems that charge from the grid during off-peak hours and discharge to provide power during vehicle charging. It's a comprehensive engineering solution that demonstrates systematic thinking about technological implementation. Meanwhile, American charging infrastructure typically operates at 150 to 250 kilowatts, requiring 20 to 30 minutes for meaningful range additions. Tesla's supercharger network, while extensive with more than 65,000 units worldwide, operates at significantly lower power levels than what BYD is now deploying. The infrastructure gap reflects broader challenges in American industrial policy and investment coordination. Unlike China's centralized approach to development, American efforts remain fragmented across multiple private companies and government jurisdictions, limiting both speed and scale of deployment. The economic implications extend far beyond automotive market share. Modern vehicle technologies increasingly intersect with military applications, particularly in areas such as sensors, battery management systems, and power electronics. China's dominance in battery supply chains and rare earth minerals creates strategic vulnerabilities that go well beyond consumer preferences. When Beijing restricted rare earth exports in retaliation against U.S. tariffs, it provided a preview of how technological dependence can become geopolitical leverage. The United States has responded with trade barriers, implementing 100% tariffs that effectively ban Chinese EVs from American markets. While these protective measures provide temporary relief for domestic automakers, they cannot address the fundamental technological gap that continues to widen. Trade barriers may keep Chinese cars out of American driveways, but they don't prevent Chinese companies from capturing global markets and achieving the scale advantages that make their technology superior and more affordable.
The irony is that American consumers are effectively being protected from better, cheaper products, while American companies lose global competitiveness. BYD is now the world's second-largest EV manufacturer, having surpassed Tesla in global sales for multiple quarters. Their vehicles combine advanced technology with prices that undercut Western competitors by 30 to 50%. American trade policy may prevent this competition domestically, but it doesn't stop the rest of the world from choosing Chinese alternatives. So what would matching China's capabilities actually require? Industry experts argue it would need what they describe as a Manhattan Project level of government-led initiative. Such an effort would need to address multiple dimensions simultaneously: basic research, manufacturing scale-up, supply chain development, and infrastructure deployment. The challenges extend beyond financial investment to include fundamental questions about American industrial policy and the role of government in strategic technology development. China's success stems from coordinated investment and planning that began more than 2 decades ago. The Chinese government identified batteries and electric vehicles as strategic technologies, when most American companies were still focused on internal combustion engines. Beijing provided patient capital, built integrated supply chains, and created domestic markets that allowed Chinese companies to achieve scale before expanding globally. This wasn't market manipulation. It was industrial strategy executed with remarkable consistency and vision.
The window for effective American competition continues to narrow with each technological breakthrough, like BYD's megawatt charging system. Some experts advocate for American focus on next-generation technologies, where the competitive race remains more open. Solid-state batteries, advanced battery management systems, and novel battery chemistries represent areas where American research institutions and companies maintain some technological advantages. But this strategy requires sustained government support and coordination between research institutions, private companies, and manufacturing infrastructure. The recent $3 billion in Department of Energy grants represents a starting point, but industry observers argue that much larger and more coordinated investments will be necessary. We're talking about the kind of national commitment that built the interstate highway system or put humans on the moon.
The question is whether American political systems can sustain the kind of long-term strategic thinking that such technological competition requires. For American workers, this technological shift carries immediate implications. The traditional automotive supply chain, engines, transmissions, fuel systems, becomes obsolete in an electric future. New supply chains center around batteries, electric motors, and charging infrastructure. If those supply chains are controlled by Chinese companies, American workers become dependent on foreign technology and foreign supply chains for their livelihoods. It's not just about cars, it's about industrial capacity and economic sovereignty. The national security implications are equally profound. Modern vehicles are essentially computers on wheels, packed with sensors, communication systems, and data processing capabilities. In a world where Chinese companies control the fundamental technologies that power these systems, questions about data security, remote control capabilities, and strategic vulnerabilities become unavoidable. It's not paranoia, it's the logical consequence of technological dependence in an era of strategic competition. So here's the fundamental question that BYD's breakthrough forces us to confront. Is America prepared to compete in a world where technological leadership determines economic and strategic advantage? The data suggests we're not. Our investments are too small, our timelines too short, and our coordination too fragmented to match the scale and sophistication of Chinese industrial strategy. We're playing checkers while they're playing chess, and the consequences of that mismatch are becoming more apparent with each technological breakthrough. The choice ahead isn't really about electric vehicles or battery technology. It's about whether America can adapt its approach to strategic competition in the 21st century. Can we make the kind of sustained, coordinated investments that technological leadership requires? Can we think beyond quarterly earnings reports and election cycles to develop strategies that span decades? Can we build the kind of integrated industrial ecosystems that turn scientific research into global competitive advantage? The answer will determine not just who makes the world's cars, but who controls the technologies that power modern economies. BYD's 5-minute charging breakthrough isn't just about convenience, it's about who shapes the future of human mobility, energy systems, and ultimately global economic power.
The real question isn't whether this technology will change the world. The question is whether America will help shape that change or simply adapt to decisions made elsewhere.